let's welcome on board Varun Saboo as well, head equities at Anand Rathi shares, to talk about what he's making of the market right now. Varun, hi, afternoon. Good to have you on the show and Happy New Year from all of us. Just wanted to understand what are the return expectations, considering this is going to be an eventful year. First half India elections and then second half US.
Inviting us on your show. I mean, it is a happy new year. It's for everyone, right? I mean, the way markets have been, they've been too kind to us. But yeah, if we speak about elections, it's better to speak about the India side. At least the results which we saw of the state elections which went by, it is kind of it is getting a consensus. It is getting into a consensus where there is a belief that there will be a strong majority again by the current government coming in. So there is a lot of euphoria around it, and that's what is reflecting in our markets. Continuity is always good, as I mentioned in the last interview also when I had come on the show. So yeah, that's keeping the things quite exciting over here. In terms of US, it's difficult for me to comment, so I'll refrain from that.
Okay, fair enough. But Varun, I want your view regarding the FMCG and retail sector. But before that, let's listen into the management of V2 Retail, because it was quite a stark performance that the company, reported in Q3 gone by versus the rest of the peers, because they've managed to deliver a 47% same-store sales growth, and that compares to 4% that V-Mart has done. So, of course, the area of operation is slightly different because V2 Retail has more presence in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and tier 3 cities at that. But a 47% kind of same-store sales growth has resulted in over 56% growth in terms of revenue, and no surprise then that the stock is up almost 25% in the week gone by. Let's listen into the management bite as to what they think the next year is going to be like for them as well.
Going forward also, we are looking to maintain a double-digit same-store sales growth. So I think that's our main target, and to also grow revenues at about 30% every year. We see more footfalls coming into the same store. We assume that we are getting more market share in that particular market. So currently we will close this year at around 820, 830 rupees per square feet. So the target for next year is getting around 950 rupees per square feet of sales. And talking about expansion, I think in the next 12 months, we should be opening about 25 to 30 new stores. And we are focusing on the existing clusters that have been doing well for us, because that really helps us with the logistics and the marketing part of it. And we already have a brand presence there, so people know what V2 is. So it's easier to mature that store. So we are looking at geographies like Bihar, Odisha, UP, and Jharkhand, which have historically done well for us.
Right. Varun, which brings me to what is it that you're, foreseeing now for whether or not there is going to be a rural recovery? You are seeing some green shoots there, but not a sustainable one. Do you think there's likelihood that this year perhaps one can see the rural economy pick up?
You're asking me? Yeah, so
Yes.
So yes, there is definitely so rural has been doing fine, I mean, we have been of the view that rural has continued doing well. It's just that the pricing growth in the country was so strong, not in the country, in fact, everywhere. If you see most products you look at, they all have literally doubled in the last 3 years, right? And still we see all these consumer companies, be it consumer names like FMCG, be it discretionary names, be it auto companies, anyone. I mean, if you see, there's been a huge inflation we have seen. We have seen at least products going up between somewhere around 70-80% to about 100%. Despite that, we have been seeing volume growth across. So, and although the volume growth was marginal, it was somewhere between 0 to 5%. But now is the time when things have settled in terms of rural also. So they have adjusted to the new prices. It's not that prices are going up any further. This is the best time. Even if you look at the kind of auto numbers which got reported, I've been highlighting, I had come on your show and highlighted before also, something like a two-wheeler should do exceptionally well, which is very rural linked, right? Very positive still on the two-wheeler names, be it Hero Motocorp, be it TVS, be it Bajaj Auto still. And in fact, the monthly numbers which came, it's very important to look at the retail numbers, which was very, very strong. So it's clearly indicating that rural is coming out to be very strong, and I think that trend is going to continue.
Rural is finally bouncing back and you expect this trend to continue. Let's see what's trending in the market right now apart from real estate, because that's the only big area of interest right now. A couple of these financials are actually perking up, Kunal. Take a look at the charts of Poonawalla FinCorp. You also have Chola Investment Finance, which is doing well, and then New India Assurance, a not very volatile name, but still, if anything on the charts.
So Poonawalla is something which is interesting. That's a stock which I've been tracking as well as have been bullish on from those 350, 360 levels. I think a month and a half out back for the stock, and where it formed a double bottom for itself. Right now, I think it's on the verge of a breakout of the previous high. It spent almost like a couple of weeks at this level of 430, 440 approximately, and my sense is if it breaks past about the 450 mark, even on a weekly closing basis, this could potentially be a very big breakout for the stock. From the other spaces, other stocks, L&T Finance is something which is also interesting. The stock has crossed about that 170 mark, which makes the stock coming back towards its multi-month, multi-year high. Bajaj Finance is looking attractive. Even with this today's price up move of 3%, 4% plus for the stock above 7,700 levels, it's still formed a cup and handle towards a kind of a bullish swing breakout pattern for itself. So a lot of bullish formations from the financial services space, and this probably indicates that we may probably be getting into a phase where the financial services index can stand to outperform, and many of these large cap and the erstwhile underperforming peers, they can make a very strong comeback.
Okay, that's the take coming in on financials at large. Bo, as we discussed, Century Textiles, that as well is one stock which has been buzzing up in trade. Samit is here to tell us the possible reasons why it's holding up the way it is. Samit?
Well, if you see for Century Textiles, the real estate space entirely was buzzing in trade, and that a company had missed the buzz. I guess people did not realize that nearly 65% of its SOTP value was coming in from the real estate business, which included the ongoing real estate projects and the land bank of the company. The remaining 35 comes from textile and the paper business. And the company also came out with its presentation. Some incremental information coming in from the presentation is, firstly, they are saying that when it comes to the Worli East project, only 0.9 million square foot of the project has been so far launched, and the total project potential is close to 3.5 million, which means that around 2.6 million square foot of project is yet to be launched when it comes to Worli East. And when it comes to Worli West, the potential project size could be around 1.5 million square feet as per the company. Now, apart from this, the company is also looking to launch various other projects in different regions which have a potential value of more than 45,000 crore rupees as per company. Obviously, this will be spread over multiple years, so it's not that next year or in the next couple of years the company will realize this value. Now, when it comes to value, if you see in FY23, the gross development value realized by the company was close to 563 crore rupees in FY24. This is expected to increase to around 3,000 crore rupees, which is a jump of nearly 5 times if you see. And in FY25, which is the next financial year, this is expected to rise again by around 5,000 to around 5,100 crore rupees. So this shows that the project launches will definitely add a strong value on the top line front for Century Textile, and hence we are seeing such kind of an up move when it comes to Century Textiles in trade today.
Okay, so that's a word coming in on Century Textiles. In fact, Varun, talk to us about your view on not just the real estate pack, but the building materials as well. Suddenly, the wires and cable segment had seen quite a bit of uptake. Then,
Quite positive on the entire spectrum. In particular, if one has to go for, I still believe DLF has a lot of value. DLF looks very, very good to us. Still, we have been very positive on the name. We continue being very positive on it.
point taken. So that's a view coming in on the real estate sector. But moving on, on the losing side, PVR has been coming under a lot of pressure of late. What's your view, Kush, on PVR and the other, QSR names as well? Because fundamentally as well as they haven't done much in the last few weeks. Kush, the question is for you.
No, as far as PVR goes, again, we've seen a bit of selling pressure, and all the volume spikes that we've seen off late have been, when the stock was on the way down. So it doesn't really augur too well. It's trying to breach its 20-day moving average, but hasn't really been successful. So my take is, 1650, 1640 is a very strong support zone. If it holds on, then the stock might perhaps consolidate here for some while. If it doesn't, then the 200-day moving average, which is close to 1590, that will be the next immediate level on the downside. Some of the QSR names, as you mentioned, RBA, if I take as a case in point, after a big move, the stocks are again under a bit of a pressure. I think all of these names, especially the ones that have run up, will come in for a round of profit booking, especially when we see some sector churn. So I wouldn't have too many names from this sector on my radar just yet.
Okay, that's the take coming in on the QSR space right now. The one stock which has been holding up very smartly has been, of course, from the hospitality space, since we are on the subject of discretionary spends. Look at Indian Hotels. That's, I think, made a fresh high for itself, right, Kunal?
Yeah, seems like
Today itself,
yes.
yeah. So,
460 plus.
more moves higher, or would you bet on some of the smaller names within the hotel space?
I think it depends on the composition of portfolio. So, for example, if someone has been bullish on Indian hotels prior, then there is no need to add the stock at current levels. But at current levels, there is, I think, Chalet Hotels, Lemon Tree, which have given recent fresh breakouts for themselves, and they're coming back after months of consolidation for themselves. I think a couple of days back we had a strong price action move for Lemon Tree, which looked attractive. Oriental Hotels, I think, closer to 120 or 125. That's also a chart which has been spring up quite well. It formed a triangular pattern, I think closer to 110, 15 levels, then managed to break out of that triangular pattern mark, which is almost like a 20-25 pointer pattern for the stock, which means closer to 135, 140 could be a potential near-term target for Oriental Hotels. So I think it's the entire space which has been looking attractive. I've been bullish on Indian hotels prior also. So I think from current levels, if I have to look to add, Chalet, Lemon Tree as well as Oriental Hotel would be the stocks to look out for.
Okay, point taken. But I think clearly the action is in the real estate pack, and people are not, checking which stock is it. If there's anything in the real estate pack, it seems to be that there's a basket buying happening. Case in point being Signature Global. It was fairly quiet at the start of the trading session, and now since that hadn't moved, that also is perking up. You also have Prestige Estate, which is inching higher now further, and Suntec Realty too had started off fairly quiet. It's now up around 8%. So a lot of these stocks continue to gain the momentum as well. But let's take it across to Sharad to get an idea as to what the buzz is in the dealing room right now. Sharad, tell us which is the stock which has been doing rounds in the dealing room.
Stock in focus we are having is Rossari Biotech, and what we are hearing from the dealers is that in this cash market stock there is a sustained buying coming in the domestic institution category. Now the volumes also have picked up, coming up almost 4 times its 20-day average, and the key DIs already invested in the company as per the September shareholding pattern include the likes of UTI Mutual Fund as well as SBI Mutual Fund. Now interestingly, stock did cross its 100 DMA levels also today in today's trade, and importantly the channel checks what we have got is that there is a strong performance expected in their HPPC segment, which is nothing but the home personal care and the performance chemical segment, and overall the volumes have also picked up over the last 2 trading sessions.
Right, okay, that's the take coming in on what the dealing room buzz is and what are the actively traded stocks being talked about. And it's clearly realty all the way, although there's a Hindustan Copper, there's India Cements as well, which is holding out well. IndusInd Bank, Bajaj Finance are all reacting to their quarterly updates. So all those stocks, of course, are looking good as well. Just want to bring out some of the other movers and tell you what else has been holding out. There's, of course, Tata Power, NTPC, both those stocks as well looking good. There's a PFC as well, which is holding higher by about 3.25%. And then REC also not being left behind, another 3% dash coming in there too. Varun, it clearly seems like, power is one of these stories, and especially, the plays which are now transitioning into renewables.
Absolutely. We spoke in the last interview also on this, that there's a major deficit in the country, which it looks like a good 5-year plus story, and that's reflecting in all of these names. I don't see anything stopping these companies yet. These were extremely undervalued, were very cheap. There's been some covering on the front of the valuations, but they still are quite reasonable with the kind of opportunity they are holding up. And also one has to keep in mind that with a continuity in the government side, we can keep that there is a hope which is building on that. You will see the narrative of power for all and power availability being there continuing, and that you will see increased orders, which we are.
So the ones that had run up well, HCL Tech and Persistent are the 2 stocks that could perhaps come in for a bit of a profit booking furthermore from here on.
Right. Varun, would IT be the part of, or rather form part of the 2024 buy list, or is it a complete avoid still? We seem to have snapped that line. We'll just get back to him. But Kunal, once again, a good move on all these power plays, Tata Power, NTPC, PFC, REC, and I'm sure IREDA as well must be quite a buzz.
And there's a surprise. I think our power is up some 18 or 19% today. So you may probably call it a bit of frenzy which may come by, because if stocks like these, they manage to move up higher by such kind of magnitude of 15-20%, then I think you may see some sort of froth building up. But I would still be bullish on the large cap or the more prominent pharma names. I think Tata Power at 335, 340 is still one of the stronger names to go buy. The stock, in fact, on the daily charts is on the verge of coming out of 2-3 weeks of consolidation after a 50 or a 60 point up move from 270, 275 for Tata Power. So that could be an interesting play from a short-term angle. And I think from a short-term angle, I would look out for another 50 points on the upside, which means closer to 375, 380 could be a potential target for the stock.
Varun was asking you about IT before your link snapped. What's the view for 2024? Avoid, or you think it's a good contra bet?
I think IT is a great bet to be in. IT stocks should do very well with a 6 to 12 month perspective at least. We need to recognize that this quarter is not that relevant a quarter for IT companies, but next year looks promising. There has been, so if we heard Fed yesterday, last night, speaking about rate cuts, etc., we heard them saying that nothing is happening in the near term. But still, that in the next 12 months, it's going to start somewhere. IT being valued on DCF globally now, we see a clear reaction. As soon as we see yields falling, it reflects on the Nasdaq, and will keep reflecting here as well. So from a valuation, from a DCF angle, they stand as a great bet. But on the business side also, with a perspective, if rate cuts start happening in US, you will see increased orders for IT companies going forward, and there's a hope which is building for IT companies 2 quarters down the line. Yeah.
ABFRL, Trent, let's bring up those stocks as well, because of course, Trent continues to be at life highs, but ABFRL as well, as Kunal was also flagging out this stock earlier today, 2.5% higher for that particular stock, to 3,000 plus levels for Trent in any case. And Varun, I guess the dichotomy in the mind is always about valuations that you pay for some of these urban consumption themes, right? Be it ABFRL or Trent, the retail plays, that is. But you think this is going to be a favored sector for times to come?
Yeah, so you have to see the growth that they are showing, right? The kind of growth we are envisaging for these companies going forward. We are looking at stupendous growth going forward, upwards of 30% or something around CAGR going forward. Particularly if we talk about AB Fashions, that stock hasn't done much. In fact, that has it's been because of their acquisition strategy that stock has been under pressure. But I think the kind of brands they have taken over, that paves the way for a very good long term. And if they can really milk it the right way, this stock stands as a very good idea to look forward for. Trent is a bellwether name, one of the best that you can get. Consistent track record, consistent growth, visibility being very strong. I don't see anywhere the rally stopping in these names.
Okay, that's the take coming in. Trent, which in the last 52 weeks alone has given you a 140% return. But let's just move on and let's talk about some of the other buzzers in trade. Kunal, since we're on the subject, let's revisit ABFRL. You quite like the charts, right, here?
Well, yes, and I think it's a very strong chart because after months of consolidation, so I remember I think in 2022, start or mid somewhere, the stock was almost at 350 odd levels. At a point, the stock was beaten down to 175, 180, which means 50% drop in the past 1 year or so. And then from that 175 odd levels, the stock spent almost 10, 12 months consolidating at this 175 to 220 odd band. Right now, the stock is showing signs of a price volume breakout. In fact, the weekly volumes for the stock so far clocked for ABFRL on the spot levels is one of the best volumes the stock has shown over the last, I think, 5 months or 6 months from the July-August highs. And the prices have managed to break past about the July-August highs for itself. So that itself tells you the kind of participation which has suddenly come back into the stock, and I believe that this is a strong indication of a breakout. My expectation is that the stock over the near term should climb back towards at least a 275 to 280 over the very near term, which means a potential upside of at least 10% from a short-term view.
Okay, that's the take coming in on ABFRL. In the meantime, the stock that I want to bring up is Jupiter Wagons as well as BEML. There's a sizable 802 crore rupee contract that they've bagged from the Defence Ministry for military equipment. Jupiter Wagons, of course, has spiked up about 4.5%, and BEML, of course, has been a strong, steady show in any case. 2.6% higher for this stock as well. Varun, that's the other theme, right? Because the order inflows and the news flow on a daily basis tells you that both railways as well as defense is a story which is here for the longer haul, irrespective of whether or not the stocks have been exuberant or run up ahead of their fundamentals.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the same thing. The narrative continues, and with continuity, the two terms already in the government, if there is a possibility of a third, which is looking highly possible, this theme will not stop. In fact, we heard the defense secretary in one of the media interviews recently, where he mentioned that last year's ordering was nothing, that 1,20,000 crore number. He said that we are looking to order much higher, right? So where are these themes going to stop? They're not going to stop. These are all order book stories. As and more their order book grows, you'll keep seeing the re-rating happening in these names. So yeah, very positive on this space also.
Okay, that's the take coming in on defense as well as railways. Kunal, on the charts, what do you foresee for the more liquid names within the F&O universe?
So from the railways pack specifically, I would believe IRCTC could be a stock which one should be looking out for. I think closer to that 900 levels. That's something which looks attractive. And I sense that the stock should be inching towards a breakout. Should be at least a 10 to 15% breakout potential for IRCTC, given the way the volumes have built up for the stock.
Okay, IRCTC, the only F&O stock there. Mildly higher today, but Kunal has conviction on this one. Also, by the way, this is the only one which hasn't participated in the rally that you saw in the rest of the railway names. But on that note, Varun, good to have you on the show as always. We'll let you go on that note and let's get in some BTST trades going. Kush, what's on your list?
Siemens is showing quite a bit of strength, has actually given a breakout past some of its key resistance zones. So Siemens is on my radar, from a BTSC perspective or even from a near-term perspective. 41, 80, 40 to 50 are the targets. 4020 is where I would place my stop loss. One stock that we discussed at the beginning of the show, which was Shriram Properties. These two very strong charts. We saw a very strong up move yesterday and a good follow through today as well. So at 138 is the target. 130 is where I would place my stop loss.
Right. Kunal, what about your BTST ideas?
So I'll go with L&T Finance from the financial services space as a buy. Targets of 180. Stop loss could be kept at 165. And Tata Power is the other stock, which I think closer to 338, 339. Looks attractive for a contra bet on the upside. Targets of 350, stop loss at 333.
Okay, and on that note, let me take it across to Vinny as well and get in the closing trades. What's been buzzing up and what's been holding out? Vinny?
Absolutely, Aisha. Today, we did start the market on a somber note, but look at the Nifty managing to hold on to 0.7% in trade of gain, almost at the day's highest point. But what outperformed today was the broader markets. Looking at the mid cap as well as the small cap, clear outperformance coming in there, especially from the Nifty mid cap, ending almost at 1.7% uptick there. Sector-wise, most of the sectors have actually managed to perform quite well, and especially the Nifty Realty, that is the top sectorial gainer. Nifty Realty up 6%, more than 6% in trade. The highest single-day gain that we've seen coming in since October 2021. So yes, Nifty Realty is the outperformer today, standing tall as the Nifty Realty, and obviously the names that came in was Sobha. Strong gains on this one as well. Sobha Developers, because of the Motilal Oswal note that came in, where it becomes the top pick for Motilal Oswal in the realty space. So Sobha Developers up 16% as of now as well. Then we have Godrej Properties, DLF, Macrotech Developers. Across the board for realty, we've seen a very strong performance from most of the stocks over there as well. Let's pull up Bajaj Finance, the top Nifty 50 gainer today. Bajaj Finance, after its strong Q3 update, very strong AUM growth. Also, what we were expecting is seen for Bajaj Finance as well. And nonetheless, that's why holding on to 4.22% gains as of now as well. IndusInd Bank, another one from the banking space, actually holding on to good gains after its Q3 updates. Managed to sustain those gains all through the day as well. Even now, also holding on to good gains there. Let's pull up some of these oil refiners, BPCL, HPCL, all these a bit subdued in trade. That is something that didn't do quite well in trade today. And HPCL, BPCL, all of them subdued in trade even as of now, after we've seen crude oil prices. That impacts these companies as well. So crude oil prices surely seeing an impact on that front. Other than that, we have a downgrade that came in from CLSA for HPCL, BPCL as well as IOC. All the three names declining in trade after the downgrade that we saw coming in from CLSA. Torrent Power, that too is not doing quite well in trade actually, I beg your pardon. Strong gains that we saw for Torrent Power as well. 47,350 crores MOU that they have signed as well. So Torrent Power is among the top gainers today coming in, and 8% almost uptick that we saw at one point of time. Let's move on, pull up the charts from an auto name. We have Tata Motors that held on to good gains as well. And Tata Motors was mainly after JP Morgan upgraded the stock, and 2.1% uptick almost intraday that we saw coming in was at the high. As of now, also managing to hold on to gains of 1.82% as well. Let's pull up Century Textiles. We did have a presentation that came in from the company, and post that, we've seen a spike up coming in for the stock at one point of time up as much as 13%. As of now, also holding on to good gains. That's Century Textiles for y'all. In the last few minutes of trading session, what we saw was the defense names picking up pace, because the Defense Ministry has actually signed an 802 crore military equipment contracts with some of these companies. So defense companies, whether you look at a BEML or whether you look at Jupiter Wagons, all of them too are holding on to very, very strong gains. So yes, all in all, we've seen a very strong move coming in the markets today as well. Sector wise, let's pull up Nifty Auto. That too was a bit in the flip-floppy day of trade. Very flat in trade, Nifty Auto, but Tata Motors was an outperformer that came in the Nifty Auto space.
Okay, and on that note, Winnie, thanks for that. We'll wind it up right here on this edition of Closing Trades.